Welcome to Deep Dive with Esther. It is my honor to be here with you all. Today I have my very first guest, Joanna Colwell. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I remember when we met a few years ago at the UU, and that was amazing connection. We met, and you quickly became my guardian angel. So thank you for all the work that you've done and are doing. When I moved to Middlebury, I came with the intention of making this my community. You have definitely helped me do that. You have shown up for me in picking up Lawrence from daycare some days. It's family. So thank you so much for being here, for doing that. And I would love to know, how did you get here? How did Middlebury become home?
Yeah, I never thought I would live in Vermont. I am a West Coast girl. I'm from San Francisco, although my lots and lots of family was here on the East Coast, was in New York City. But my parents moved out to California with me when I was a baby, and I grew up in San Francisco my whole life. And in the early 90s, I met this really nice man on the bus in San Francisco, and it turned out that he was from here. And so after we got married in 2000, we moved here. And so now I've been here 22 years, right? Because it's 2022. So yeah, I guess it'll be 22 years in the fall.
Okay.
Yeah, and this community, as you've experienced, right,
Absolutely.
it kind of wraps you in a hug.
It does.
Right?
It does.
Yeah,
It does.
I felt really at home here quite quickly.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you've made it home by being a business owner here in town. You direct the Otter Creek Yoga in the Middlebury Marble Works. You also enjoy long walks, cuddling with your cat, cooking for the Abolition Kitchen, which I've had the pleasure of enjoying, serving on the board of Women Safe, and working with the Middlebury chapter of Showing Up for Racial Justice. You are a powerhouse, and I am so glad I get to be in your presence. I get to just see you work in action. So thank you for all you're doing for this community. And a beautiful way that you have shown up for this community is being a part of the Yoga Equity Project. So please tell us more. What is the Yoga Equity Project?
Yeah, so the Yoga Equity Project is an experiment in radical barrier removal. If you've spent any time in a yoga studio, you might have noticed that it tends to be fairly homogenous crowds in there. It's a lot of white people with extra income.
Yeah.
And, everyone deserves the joy of yoga, right? Not only people who have plenty of time and money. So the basic idea of the Yoga Equity Project was, how can we remove as many barriers as possible to get people in the studio, young people, people of color, and this initiative is especially for what we call people of the global majority.
I love that. I love that. I love that.
Another way to say BIPOC, right? That I think really honors your status in the world. And so, it's one thing to make a class free.
Yeah.
That's great. But we thought we could go one step further and actually pay people to come to class. And as long as we can do the fundraising for that, it's worked out. So far, it's worked out really, really well.
Yeah.
It's one aspect of it, I guess, is wealth redistribution is one way to think about it. Another way to think about it, I really like that quote, from each according to their ability to each according to their need. So, I've always had the policy since this yoga studio was started, when soon after I first moved here, that we always have scholarships. So like we always have sliding scale.
Yeah.
We always have free classes if you need that. You know, if you don't have the money to pay for yoga, that shouldn't be a reason not to do yoga.
Yeah.
So as long as I can pay the rent on that place and pay my bills, I want to extend the joy of yoga to as many people in the community as possible.
Yeah.
But so Natasha Chang, who taught the first Yoga Equity Project class, had the idea of doing a class that was only for people of the global majority. And then I had the idea, like, well, let's do some fundraising and raise some money so that we can pay people who come to the class for being there. And we just found that makes all the difference in the world,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, like, if you're on staff at the college, like you were, or if you're a student at the college, we just found, like, so many people, they have their academic responsibilities, they have their work-study job, and that's just a lot right there. And they don't have 2.5 hours to like walk down to the studio, take the full class, put on your shoes and your coat and walk back up to campus.
Yes.
But if you pay people $20, they had that.
Yeah.
You know, that made the difference.
It
and
does.
so
It
that
does.
was huge for us when we saw the first time we made a flyer, it said get paid to relax. The class filled up in 4 hours. So we're like, oh, we're on to something here.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So we're now on the fourth series of classes, and they're taught by Sasha Pinnell. Shout out to Sasha, who is a wonderful Black yoga teacher who drives here to do that every week. And the class is both in person and people can access it via Zoom. So we have people Zooming in from all over Vermont, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. I got the honor to take a couple of classes, and I loved it. I love getting the Venmo as well.
And it's still there for you whenever, some people some people are there every week. Some people come in and go out as they're able.
Yes.
And so if you find you can come back, please come back.
Yes.
And we also pay for childcare too.
Yes. That is also
necessary. Right?
Necessary. It makes the world of a difference. Coming from a mom of 2 beautiful souls, a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. So I know the beauty of that. So yes, it does free up some time. Which is wonderful. I just want to say I'm so grateful that you were so open when Natasha brought that idea to you to say, yes, let's make it happen and let's take it a step further. And you did. You made it happen. You fundraise and you keep it going. Well, you've kept it going so far. So how are you able to fund it? I know the first time it was fundraising through friends and family. What is sustaining you now?
Well, we have a bank account at the National Bank of Middlebury.
Thank you, National Bank of Middlebury.
It's called the Yoga Equity Project.
Nice.
And we accept donations of all sizes. And we had a wonderful angel donor in the community who gave us a very generous grant through the Vermont Community Foundation, which, it's when I first put that out to my students, like, hey, does anybody want to help support this program? We're going to pay people to come to yoga. To be honest, I expected some pushback from people. I thought at least some people would be like, what? Like, I pay for this service. Why should other people get paid to access it? To this day, nobody has ever said that to me.
Wow.
Like, everybody gets it.
Wow.
Like, I mean, maybe this is just a very special community, but people seem to understand, like, oh, yeah, there's barriers for people that make it really hard. People don't have that extra 2 hours, or even the class is only an hour and 15 minutes. So if you're Zooming in from home, you really need that hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're coming in person, you need a little more time to get there, a little more time to get back.
Yeah.
But I think that people really do understand that communities of color are disproportionately bearing a lot of the burdens of capitalist America, right? Stress. I mean, you're a Black woman, like Black women, Black women are the highest educated demographic in the whole country, And you also have the most educational debt.
Yes.
So that impacts, do you have money for a massage? Do you have money for yoga?
Absolutely.
So you can't just tell people like, oh, self-care, go take yoga classes, go for a run, go get a massage. Like, yeah, can you pay me to do that?
Yes.
Right? And so, yes, we want to pay you to do that. Because you deserve that. And we are, when you're healthy and whole, our whole world is healthy and whole.
Absolutely. It is so refreshing to hear. As a Black woman myself, it is not always my experience that folks have that perspective. And so to come to this community, to hear about this project, to see folks coming in, Zoom, and going to the studio, experiencing it myself, yes, it's making a difference. Yes, we are feeling it. And yes, let's keep it going.
I hope it spreads all over. Like, I hope every yoga studio, will have their own yoga equity project.
Yeah.
It could look different, depending where you are. Like some studios, they already have 3 Black teachers on staff.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Maybe, that maybe there's carving out, right? One class a week or 2 classes a week that are only for, so people get that community feeling without us annoying white ladies in the way all the time. And then also, the idea of paying people, I think there's a lot of creative ways that money can be generated. And I just think everyone deserves the joy of yoga.
Yeah.
And so everything we can do to remove the barriers is a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So you recently wrote an article for the Addy Indy, and there is a quote that I would like to read from there that I thought was great from one of your favorite testimonial.
Oh, yeah.
Where I have new connections and a sense of community and belonging. I feel more able to wind down and be present. I've noticed I've been less critical of myself and my flaws.
Isn't that beautiful?
Can we just take a moment with that? Talk about whole people. Right. It makes a world of a difference in the community when you have folks walking around feeling connected, feeling a sense of community, feeling a sense of belonging, and able to be present and wind down. I mean, things that you would think it's so readily available or so easy to do, but when you're a BIPOC person in this predominantly white space, or the people of the global majority,
amen,
in this predominantly white space, to have safe spaces where you can do that speaks volumes.
Yeah, when I read that, I had asked Natasha on the last day of class, I was like, can you just pass around these note cards and get people to just write a few thoughts? So just so we know, like, is this working for people? What would you change?
Yeah.
What would you do differently so we can keep making this program better and better? And when I read that card, I was just really touched. And that is really the whole, there's something so beautiful about that essence of yoga is, the Sanskrit word, the root of the word yoga is the Sanskrit word yuj, which means to yoke or to join. So it's this idea of like coming together and in your own body, bringing together your own body, your own breath, your own awareness of yourself, your mind and your body together, and also that sense of community and unity that we feel with one another when we're practicing together, we're breathing together. It's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
No.
I love it. I love it. So, I think in the article, I'm going to read the quotes. I just love it. But it was so awesome to hear / read, really, where you write, as a white Vermonter who is lucky and privileged to be a small business owner, I am looking for ways to share my resources. And you named that a little bit too, where, if you're able to pay your bills, pay the rent, sharing, which is so powerful. And then the thought of, what if every yoga studio did that? And the difference it would be. And doing it, maybe it would look different from the way we do it here at Middlebury.
Right.
But how we would be helping to heal a community.
Yeah, well, something really exciting just happened when I mentioned earlier, I think I hope this spreads, or, everywhere. And the studio owner of Laughing River Yoga, which is has locations in both Winooski and Burlington, they started their own yoga equity project.
Yes.
And it was so great. Emily Garrett, who runs those studios, contacted me and said, I heard you're doing this. What, can we have a Zoom? And so she and I got together. We had a couple meetings. And she kept saying, like, oh, is this okay if we, like, steal your work? I was like, no. First of all, it's not mine. It just, like, came through,
Yes.
And I mean, my deepest desire is for this to spread.
Yes.
So I was just thrilled. And they did, as far as, like, fundraising goes, they did a GoFundMe.
Wow.
They raised like $13,000, so that's enough money, I mean, depending how many people are coming to the class, and if you're paying everybody $20 or $25 for attending the class, that adds up. Like, you're paying the teacher. That's another thing I just wanted to mention. Like, we've used our funding to pay our teachers really well. And, yoga is actually somewhat of a low-paying job, so it's nice to be able to do that, to support teachers, Vermont yoga teachers of color, and to just, it does require that the people who have access to resources share. That's how it works. Right?
Yeah.
That's what makes it work.
Yeah.
So we're just super grateful to the Vermont Community Foundation for funneling this money to us, and I'm really grateful to everybody who's been participating in the program. The people who show up to take class every week.
Yeah.
And I just hope that, I know from my own experience with practicing yoga, you do feel the benefit, right, as you go through the day. It's not just while you're on your mat. You feel it. You stand up straighter.
Yes.
Yes. You might have a moment when you feel frustrated, but you, like, take a deep breath.
Yes.
Because you have that practice and it kind of seeps into you, and it starts to affect all the aspects of your life. We have this really beautiful teaching in yoga called aparigraha, and it means not being greedy, not hoarding resources. Yeah. And, that's a thing that happens, like, with whiteness, I'll just name it, we oftentimes lack a really deep sense of community and the kind of I've got your back feeling, and so we are like, and it's also this society that we live in, it's so brutal, right? And so people are like looking out for themselves, and I gotta pay my mortgage, I gotta pay my, and everybody's like holding on to what they have, and we just, if we have it to share, we need to get better about that. I feel like that's, and I believe in direct reparations, and if you don't have the cash, which a lot of us don't, you start looking around, well, what else, what do I have? Maybe I'm a bread baker and I share bread. Maybe I cook for my neighbor. Maybe I do childcare for a friend. Right?
Yeah. Wow. So refreshing to hear. Again, so me being a Haitian immigrant, my parents came here and the focus was to make a better life. And what that meant was get an education, pay your bills, buy a house, and take care of family back home. Yeah. Right? And the way we did that was through getting the education but assimilating and not really standing out. And so I didn't for so long. For so long I chose to just go to work, take care of my family, don't say anything, don't acknowledge anything. I don't want to see the documentary, I don't want to talk about it. I am in survival mode. And who would have thought? Come to Vermont.
Come to Vermont and get in the city council.
Let me tell you, come to Vermont and say, I want to be an intentional just citizen. I just
Yeah.
want to get involved in meeting different people, meeting white people who are saying, hey, we hoard resources. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. Or the willingness to share has been refreshing to see. So from someone who has experienced the Yoga Equity Project personally and has gotten the benefits, I am so grateful that you've said yes to Natasha. I am so grateful that you all are finding resources to pay people to relax. And we want to help keep it going, whatever I can do. So thank you so much for making time to talk to me, to sharing with our audience, to taking a deep dive into making our community a better place.
Thank you, Esther. This community is better because you're in it.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right.
How did that go?
Oh, okay.